I have something to show you, right? That it's nothing to do with your writing really, or certainly so it seems, but it's actually a real issue for us writing on Macs. And fortunately, it's an issue that there are answers for. There are actually lots of answers, and there are answers that you're going to like if you don't already know them. But still, the issue, it's called window management. It's not thrilling, is it? But if I can't exactly, excite you or me with this, this is actually something I care about. It's something, in fact, I've spent a lot of time figuring out, and it is also something that does very particularly help with my writing. Let me show you two things, okay? This is my Mac Mini after a few hours working. Actually, I didn't intend this. This thing here, this is tidy up your Mac option there. And here's a screen grab of my MacBook Pro towards the end of a day. Basically, it's countless windows, isn't it? And they're all needed, but they're not all needed at the same time. It's an overlapping mess, really. It's a barrage of windows and information, and you know that I spend more time than I should just finding the window I need for the next thing, and you know it because you do the same thing. But I said all of this kind of thing. This was like after a few hours, maybe the end of the day. But you're a writer. I'm a writer. It's not like we really get an end of the working day, because as soon as we finish one particular set of jobs or writing or something, it's time to start writing something else. Maybe just for me, maybe just for you, maybe it's something that will become the next job we write, maybe it's an idea, we're just writing it to see what happens, something. But whatever it is, I want to concentrate on it. So, window management. Look at it this way: how to see the one document window you need to concentrate on, and how to better juggle things when what you really need, genuinely really need, is a lot of windows. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as ever, as always, is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads. Do subscribe, because there's just always so much to talk about. Let me start this time, though. We'll build up to the big monster. Let's start with the smaller screen, the MacBook Pro. It's the same principle, the same thing, but there's a lot more footage there, and it feels like I do have to build up to it. But also let me start with Apple's own built-in window management that you may very well know already. There's plenty from Apple, and it's been getting better. Apparently, though, if you come to the Mac from Windows, something that there isn't, and that reportedly you would miss, is how on a PC, when you drag a window around, presumably near the corners or something, it will snap to the corners or the edges or something. Macs do not have that, not straight out of the box. They do have this. Now, you've seen this, actually. I mean, you've at least used it by accident. Or was that just me? Let me show you Apple's own solution, one of them, so that yep, got that, and then you can see the steps that other companies take to build on that, to improve or to replace it. So, on any Mac, hover your cursor over that green traffic light icon in any open window, and you get these. Enter full screen. That sounds pretty self-explanatory. Really, it takes that window and fills the screen. The quality of information I have for you. But actually, there's a little bit more to it than that, but at least that's what it looks like. It looks like it fills the page, it fills the screen anyway. Whereas tile to left or right, that also sounds simple. You know, it'll take the current app and make it fill exactly half the screen, either to the left or the right. Fine, except that isn't quite it either. When you choose that for a current window, the Mac presumes that you're going to want to have two apps open, one on the left, one on the right, and it forces you to pick the second one of the pair. It forces you to pick right now, in fact. So really what you want is just one app taking up the left half of the screen, but then have the other half show two apps, one above the other, overlapping, something like that, while you're out of luck. Or maybe this is more common, if you want just one document on the left of the screen and all of your folders or your desktop and all of your research on the other, well, tough. It is great actually though when what you want is two apps. I've used it a lot for that, but it's very specifically two. And again, that's not quite what you think it is. It's not quite what it seems when you do it. Even, as I say, when you do want just two apps. Because the two do not just take up half of your screen each. It's like they create a new screen and they half fill that. They are opened in a new space. Now, spaces are this thing that it's very easy to just never even know about, never even hear about, but they are useful. Easiest to show you. On my trackpad here, if I swipe up now with 3 fingers, I get this. This is my Mac's regular desktop. There, it's where we start, it's all the windows of it. But up here, I have a second desktop. Kind of, sort of a second whole Mac in a way, which is devoted to these 2 apps that I've just half filled the screen with. Let me just click back into those. Now, I can have that pair up, and I can also swipe left and right to go out of them. And lately, I've been doing that swiping back and forth. I've been using spaces a lot. Maybe a better example than this. There's a writing job I have where one part requires me to use Google Chrome, just for a bit, just for the odd thing. And I don't want it in my face. I keep it in the second space. So I do my writing, and then when I have to, swipe over, there it is, use it, swipe it back out the way. So I won't ever knock spaces, but I chose to make one to do that Google Chrome and back thing. And here with the window management tools, it's the Mac itself. The Mac has made a space for us without asking and without really saying what it was. Just, oh look, I'm full screen, look at me. Which means when you swap to a different app, Command Tab and then try to come back, you get unexpected errors. And I think it's a bit clunky really, when you're done with the 2 apps and you want to get out, you want to finish having the 2 apps open side by side like this. With the 2 apps open and each taking half of the screen, you get out by hovering over the traffic light again. You can choose to replace this half of the screen with another app, and that seems to work okay. You can take it full screen, which actually moves it into another space all by itself and then goes full screen, or you can choose move window to desktop. Yeah, I would say that's a confusing and maybe a little unclear name, although actually I can't think of a better one. You'd still, if you choose that, the app does leave the half of the full screen. It does go back to being a regular window on your regular Mac desktop, but the other app is apparently gone. It isn't at all, of course. It's still there. It's still in its own space. And now it's become full screen without you wanting it, without you asking for it, without you even seeing that it's done. So say you change your mind, right? You want these 2 apps open together again, each on one side of the screen. You use the green traffic light again to go back into it, but you go back into taking up half the screen on the first app, and you don't rejoin the last app. You start afresh, a whole nother new space where you were forced to pick something else to go on the opposite. So you're looking at me like that's a very long explanation for something that actually, well, it is useful, just not as useful as you'd hope. It doesn't quite do what you'd think. Whereas, okay, for comparison, there is a completely separate Apple window management tool that is extremely useful. It's also very, very short, quite possibly the shortest thing I'm ever going to show you on a Mac. But if you don't happen to already know it, it's really useful. So here's this mess, right, of windows. And today I really only want Final Draft. Wallop. Everything else gone. On your keyboard, you press Command Option H, and every other app is hidden. It's under the menus too. You can get it under there as hide others. I use this constantly. Yeah, I should say, actually, not all apps are hidden when you do that keystroke to hide all other apps. There are just some apps that they don't play nice. Okay, Text Expander is one, I'm surprised to say. Stream Deck is another. They just stay there, arms folded, saying, yeah, go on then, hide me if you think you're hard enough, that kind of thing. in that kind of case, sometimes there's nothing you can do, but with things like those, as useful as Stream Deck and TextDefender are, you don't actually need their windows open. They work in the background for you. So let them open and then minimize them. Click on the yellow traffic light icon and you minimize them, and you can forget about them forever. Speaking of traffic lights though, there are non-Apple apps. There are third-party apps that offer, I think, better window management tools, including one. We'll start with one that is based around the same traffic lights. It's actually the most famous one of these. Can there be a most famous Mac window management app? Yes, it's called Moom. Run Moom, and now when you hover over the green traffic light, you can get its options instead of Apple's. You have the choice between the two, but Moom is the default, and I think Moom ones are better. You can stick with Apple's ones and then use Moom through its menus or its app, its keyboard shortcuts, but no, don't. If you do have it replace Apple's tools, which is the default, then hover over the green light and you see this row of icons, and they are indicating, I mean, you can see it full screen, left screen, right screen, top and bottom half of the screen, that kind of thing. So actually, apart from the top and the bottom halves, which are brand new, each one of these looks exactly like Apple's, except their icons instead of their menu text. None of them are like Apple's. None of them take you into new spaces, and none of them require you to pick a second twin app to go with it. What Moom does is exactly the same as if you personally dragged and resized Windows to exactly the top, bottom, left, right, or full screen. Actually, there's absolutely nothing at all stopping you just doing that yourself. And Mac users, in fact, have been doing so for, I think it's close to 11 billion years now. But with Moom, click, and it's done. It's such a small thing, but it does the job very well. There are some finer controls. You can customize Moom. I think the most useful customization would be that you can arrange a window, drag it and resize it any way you like, and then save that position to reuse later in that app or any app. And forget the traffic light options, actually. You can just set up a keystroke so that with a tap, Moom does its doings for you. Moom costs $10, and as I say, it is the most famous of all of these window management tools, in part because I think it's been around the longest, I think, but also certainly because it's very good. I've been using Moom to try it out for maybe a month now or so, and I've actually been trying out 3 different window management apps, ostensibly to show you, but really just because I wanted to try. Plus, I was already doing some, and I'll show you how that was done for. If you'd asked me yesterday, though, I would have said Moom, out of all of them, was not my favourite. Ask me today, and I'm not really sure what it is, but could be Moom, except there is another hot contender called Mosaic. Mosaic for the Mac, it does pretty much the same thing as Moom. Really, I mean, the end result, it rearranges windows for you. But if that end result is that the documents and the Finder windows and the app windows, they go where you want, the way you do it in Mosaic is quite different from Moom. And at times over the last week, I've been quite drawn to it, particularly actually on the Macbook Pro, the 14-inch small screen. With Mosaic, if I move any window, I get this bar of options on the screen. Drag the window to one of those icons and then say into part of one of those parts of the icon and let go. The window snaps to that position. I've found that I've been using the left and right halves quite a lot. One thing though, I did get a bit weary of that bar appearing every time I moved a window. So you can, and I did, set it so that that bar only appears if you move a window while holding down the Option key. That's what I did, that's what I've been doing a lot, and I really like it. And Mosaic is also, it's customizable just as Moom is. It also costs £10 actually in this case. This one's sold in sterling, so it's £10, which today is about $12. And it's also available as part of Setup, which costs from about $10 per month and gets you this and about 200 and something more apps. I really like that option dragging and picking from the bar of icons. I honestly thought that was going to be what I would just do forever. By default though, in Mosaic, if you choose to have it take up half the screen or full screen, it doesn't actually do it. In Moom it does, but not in Mosaic. Mosaic pops the window over toward the left and the right as you choose, but then it kind of insets it a little. The window has a margin around it. You can see a bit of desktop. I suppose it's neater. It's not as slammed up against each other, and you can change it, of course. You can customize all of this stuff in Mosaic, and on a smaller screen, again, like my 14-inch MacBook Pro, I could do that, but I found I preferred the full half screen. Would you listen to me? I preferred Moom's way of just actually filling, yeah. And also, I suppose, because I had Moom, then rather than schlep through customizing Mosaic, I'd be in a hurry. I'd just use Moom to. Nobody's going to buy two of these things, but I had two of them, and Moom would do it, and Mosaic would do it slightly differently. Moom and Mosaic, two window managements, both alike in dignity, and both alike in how this is what they were born to do. This window management and nothing else. Whereas there's at least one third app that does a huge amount of other things, including window management, which it then also does differently to all the rest. Better Touch Tool is a really wide-ranging app that lets you, for instance, say that a two-finger double tap on the trackpad does this. That's Apple's Mission Control. Definitely not an over-the-top name. Well, actually, I can't think of a better one. But and again, it's another Apple way of handling lots of windows. Open that, pick the window you want, go in. But while Better Touch Tool, it began as this way to make your trackpad or your mouse or keystrokes as well actually trigger different actions like that, or more useful indeed, to trigger very many actions and very many steps with one touch. It has actually grown an entire whole window management feature. Yeah, to be strictly accurate, the maker of Better Touch Tool created a separate app called Better Snap Tool, which is solely for this window management. But every feature of that Better Snap Tool is in the main Better Touch Tool, and that one is such a good app. It has so much else in it. It is the one to buy. But here's the first of two things the Better Touch Tool does for you with window management that's different from Moom and Mosaic. Watch please as I drag a window vaguely to the side of the screen. It snaps, I suppose PC-like, it snaps to take up that half of the screen or that top. First though, you saw that blue rectangle. That's telling you where it will put the window if you want, if you drag it down, if you let go. And if you don't want, you just keep on dragging somewhere. And sometimes you don't want it to snap to half the screen. Sometimes, and remember this thing about spaces that you can swipe back and forth. Well, sometimes you want to drag a window from one space into another. Yeah, and you just keep dragging. It comes up with the blue to show you where it would be if you let go and you don't let go. You keep dragging and you leave one desktop space and enter another. I have actually found that's a bit clunky sometimes. Better Touch Tool isn't always brilliant at letting you drag through to the next space. But it is great at doing this half window snap business. And possibly best of all, I think, it's also great at this. Here's that half snap to the half window. Let me drag the window away. It goes back to the size and shape I had before. Apple is adding a thing called Stage Manager to the forthcoming macOS Ventura, and it does another kind of window management. A lot of it's very good. I wish it did this. I wish it did what Better Touch Tool does and restores windows to where they were before you did this dragging around, but it doesn't. So anyway, for basic left and right or full screen, top and bottom, Better Touch Tool lets you very easily drag and let go any window as you like. But it can do more. It can have what its developer calls snap areas. So under the Better Touch Tool menu, choose Snap Areas, Advanced Feature, and then Create New Snap Area. Notice how the current window is highlighted, and that you also get this blue lozenge shape with a few tools around it. Won't go into the tools yet. You can see them later, but you can just basically drag the lozenge around, take it wherever you like, resize it, Command W to say you're done, and nothing seems to have happened. But let's take this window and drag it around a bit. As soon as we move it, that snap area lozenge appears, and if we drag that window until our cursor goes onto the lozenge, that window is resized to the size and the position of the window we had gone before, the one we set up with the snap area. Now you can have as many snap areas as you want, so you could be dragging and resizing and repositioning windows all the live long day instead of writing. Better Touch tool costs $9, or actually it's also available as part of setup. This thing, which again it costs $9 or $10 per month upwards, and it gets you 200 odd more apps. But Better Touch tool is smart. Actually, all reason and sense says Better Touch tool is the one to buy, because it's so very good at this window management lark, and that for slightly less than the cost of the other alternatives, it also offers you just an astonishing number of other features that have nothing to do with window management and everything to do with controlling your Mac. And yet, I think simplicity is worth something. Right now, as I've said, I bounce between Mosaic and Moom. It was Mosaic first and it was half and half. Right now, this minute, I think Moom has the edge for me. Yet again, most obviously on my MacBook Pro with its 14-inch screen. For my Office's 49-inch display, well, not so much, because I already got something. I don't use those. I could actually use shortcuts on either screen, Apple's free automation tool. If you want to, you can dig into that and you can fiddle about quite a bit, and it will let you define where you want a window to go when you run that shortcut. That could be done. Or more what I do, is more fiddly and a little more expensive, but definitely the one I keep using on this screen, this keyboard Maestro. Now, if Better Touch tool does a lot, Keyboard Maestro does everything. It is a staggering app. You tend to buy to do one thing, and then you keep on finding more things that it does. In my case, in this case, one thing I have it do is open all of the apps I need for a particular job, and then also arrange them across the screen exactly where I want them. So, watch this. There you go. That did actually take some time for me to do. First, I positioned each window where I wanted. I decided what I needed, what I wanted to be in my face, so to speak, and what could be hidden behind another app and just brought forward when I need it, because I only need it occasionally or a few times, or just less than the others. And then I told Keyboard Maestro to open each app, move it to this precise place, hide it, don't hide it, and so on. As I say, that took a little time, and actually I keep refining it, and if I ever move to a different screen, a different size, it's all gone, start again. But I found it was worth the effort. Keyboard Maestro costs £36, which is kind of around $44, and I can never truly believe that it's that little compared to how much else it does for us on a Mac. That's the thing with window management, I think. There may not be a more dull topic in the world except football, but when I start writing a script, say one click, it sets up everything I need, and then when I'm writing something else, click or tap, it's just there gone. I'm set up for that. Window management is actually quite cleansing, I think, which sounds like a small thing. I mean, you understand it and you see it in action. I know you recognize the benefit, but it sounds like a shrug until you actually use some of this stuff, and then you're sold. And by the way, here's how important this dull-sounding window management topic is. Apple keeps searching for new ways to make it easier, to fix it, really. So, as I said, the forthcoming macOS Ventura will introduce this whole new window management-ish feature called Stage Manager, window management, app management, kind of thing. By September, October 2022, we will have Stage Manager on our Macs on macOS Ventura. So, our Macs already have spaces and mission control and shortcuts, I suppose, and those traffic light options. These are all very successful, and there are very more successful third-party apps like Moom, Mosaic, Better Touch Tool, Keyboard Maestro, utilities, there must be others doing this. They all give you ridiculously precise controls over this stuff because it's worth it. Window management has had an awful lot of effort put into it by so many different companies, including Apple. So it's got to be useful. I should say, sorry, I know there are trial versions for every one of the apps I've mentioned that aren't Apple, so you can see which is right for you. I did buy them all because I was doing an extended test of the lot, and I have actually been using them all and not quite as much writing as I should do. I'll get back to the writing now, and as long as you do as well, okay? We're going to write. So that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching, and take care of yourself, eh? Write more, and I'll see you soon.